La vie en France, living in the beautiful country of liberté, equalité, ou fraternité. Every episode with international guests. So let's start a new episode now.
Hello.
How are you,
Good,
Colin?
thanks. I'm
Yeah.
great.
And we do not know each other at all.
No.
And I was very curious about one thing, but because your name, Colin Usher.
Usher. Well, it's a
Yeah.
Scottish name.
Is it a Scottish
Yeah,
name?
yeah. There aren't very many Ushers around, although I have met one down in the Gers.
Okay.
There's a family there. But yeah, it's quite a rare name. You don't hear many, apart from the rapper, the American rapper, Usher.
I wanted to ask
He's
of you,
around.
is that a relative
I'm not
of
sure.
you?
I'm not sure
You're
we've
not
got
sure
any
because I
blood
see so many
connections.
similarities.
I can't rap, no
Oh, you
way.
cannot rap. Okay, but I heard that you are a musician.
Yeah, well, I'm a drummer. Yeah,
You're a
I've
drummer.
played drums since the age of 10.
Okay.
But yeah, just recently, about 3 months ago, I started composing ambient music on synthesizers and drum
Okay.
machines. So I've been having fun with that.
Besides of drums,
Yeah,
you're
yeah. So
doing
I've
now
been
other things.
away from the drums for a minute
Yeah.
and looking at composing music. And yeah, I mean,
Okay.
at 55 years old, I think it's good to be learning something new. You know,
Yeah, I can imagine.
yeah,
And
it's
because of what?
just because I feel like it. Just the winter months here can be quite slow.
Yeah. And we're in the winter, by
Yeah,
the way, at the
yeah.
moment.
And
Yeah.
my wife Julia says to me in the summer, "You must stop accepting invitations for dinner parties."
Okay.
Because it gets so busy and all the night markets that are on.
Yeah.
And we live in a town called Nerac in the Lot-et-Garonne. And
Yeah. Please,
Yeah.
you go further, of course, with your
Uh-huh.
story. Were you living over here in France?
Yeah, we've been living here full time
Yeah.
since 2016,
Yeah.
April
And
2016.
the department.
The
is
department
called
is the Lot-et-Garonne.
a lot of
It's just above the Gers. And
Yeah,
we're like,
we are, by the way, dear listeners, we're at the Gers at the moment.
Cool.
I'll talk a little bit about it later on. Okay, the lot you're living in.
The Lot-et-Garonne, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the departments besides of the lot. Can you tell us? Because so the people can understand a little bit the
well,
position.
this is a good way of describing how we got here was we're from Edinburgh and we looked at living somewhere nearish to Bordeaux and Toulouse for the airports, but mainly for the airports.
Yeah.
And then we ended up through a friend, an artist, had told us about this place called Nerac, where she came to visit a friend of hers.
Yeah.
And we ended up coming here for a little reconnaissance trip and absolutely fell in love with this little town. It's actually a royal city because Henry IV, Henri IV, that's his place,
Okay.
He would spend some time down here to basically live the Gascon life.
Yeah.
But as well, he had interests with the Basque country. He didn't want those pesky Spanish to invade his property.
Yeah.
So I mean, Nerac is a gorgeous, gorgeous little royal city with a river running through it. There's the chateau. Population of 70,000. Is it 70,000? No, sorry, 7,000 people.
Yeah.
It's only 7. Yeah, I'm thinking of Agen. Agen's more like 40.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good sized place and it's a nice mix of people. But so we ended up by accident through a friend ending up in this area.
Yeah.
And then just going, hang on a second, this place ticks all the boxes. We love it down here,
Yeah. And how long was that ago?
That was we visited here in 2015.
2015.
Yeah, because we had the notion of doing a creative retreat, an artist residency, because Jules and I had spent 8 years in the countryside near Edinburgh, both freelancing. Julia was the administrator for the Society of Scottish Artists, and I was ducking and diving, hustling, whatever you want to call it, as a freelancer doing digital media for startup companies. I also work with rock musicians and record labels, doing the media side of things, graphic design, photography, pop videos. I suppose the one notable band I'm still involved with actually are called the Proclaimers. From
Proclaimers.
Scotland.
Yeah, I
Everyone knows
know
that
them.
tune, the
I,
500
I am
miles.
Dutch,
Even you know that
but,
tune.
the
Yeah.
Proclaimers are
Mm.
well known in Holland too.
Yeah.
So
It's a funny one. The only country in the world that don't recognize the Proclaimers is France.
oh yeah, really?
So I get no kudos for mentioning that in France at all.
Okay.
But yeah, I still help them a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think what I'm trying to get across is working remotely, being down here
Yeah.
isn't that difficult, especially since COVID. Actually, COVID helped a lot of us to be able to move around more,
Yeah.
and Zoom, Zoom came in and took over the technology platform. Yeah, it's made life a lot easier.
Okay. And living here is so much different.
Oh yeah.
Comparing it with Scotland, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Our French friends always say to us, "Why are you here?"
yeah.
And they don't get it. We're going, well, look where you
Yeah,
live.
but they don't get it.
It's crazy. It's, look where you live. Look at the weather. I always joke with our French friends and say, look, in France, it rains vertically for a short time. In Edinburgh, it rains horizontally for a long time, and it's cold. It's really cold back home.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
there's really one good reason indeed to come over here.
The weather's
the weather.
Yeah.
But other things.
Oh, the lifestyle.
Yeah.
People back home said to us, "You're very brave. What are you doing? Just putting your Labradors and your stuff in a van and moving to France?" And well, back then it was pre-Brexit, so it was a little bit easier. Although it's not that difficult now, to be honest. It's not much different, really. But yeah, we moved down here because we had the notion of setting up this business, the Creative Retreat, and we didn't own a property. We were in our 40s, so we were kind of thought maybe we need to work out what's going to happen for our pension. Because being freelancers, you never have all this stuff sorted out properly. And also the banks don't like freelancers as well. So we had this notion to set this new business idea up, and we thought about the borders of Scotland, and then we realized that property was far too expensive. We thought about Maine in America because we have friends and family there. And again, it was just the price of property, was far too restrictive. And then Jules and I both realized that we had a love of France, from our childhood. Jules.
Yeah, you've been here before?
Yeah, Julia visited the Dordogne quite a few times with her family, and I fell in love with Paris in my 20s. And we just took the notion to have a wee look around.
Yeah.
And then a beautiful little thing happened. We started looking at the online estate agents, Immobilier. Found this English language one called Leggett, one of the big guys. And we spoke to a woman called Caroline, lovely Irish woman. And she phoned us. We were actually driving to the beach near Edinburgh with the two dogs for a walk, and the phone rang, and it was a French number, and it was lovely Caroline. And she talked us through the whole process of how we look for property. She educated us in the fact that there's no way we'd be able to get a mortgage in Scotland for a French property, all the little pitfalls that we were about to fall into, all the problems. But she held her hand. And then when we came back down to Nerac for the second time to have a serious think about things, we met her and her family, had dinner, and had a good look around the area, and then realized that the best thing for us to do was actually to rent first.
Yeah, that is a clever solution, I guess.
The problem with that is it's virtually impossible to find rental properties down here. It's a tricky situation. But we came for a trip, the final trip before we moved here, and we met with a few estate agents, and we finally found a property in a beautiful little village called Francescas, which is just about at the edge of the Gers, near Montcrabeau, not far from Condom. So we signed a contract, a 3-year leasing contract, which we weren't tied into. The people renting have got all the benefit here. You're protected, you're looked after. You can't be thrown out of your property in the winter months. All these little kind of rights that you're afforded by the French authorities. It's a good system. Yeah, so we rented. For 1 year, it turned out, we ended up finding a lovely property. But again, thanks to Caroline, our lovely pal, we got ourselves into Franciscus. Okay.
Yeah.
We filled a transit van and a Ford Focus, and we drove down to Wales. Then our friend Jess helped to drive the car with Julia, and I drove the van, and then down past Bordeaux, and then into Franciscus with massive grins on our faces. And the sun was shining. It was April the 2nd, and it was 21 degrees.
Yeah.
And there's an expression in Scotland. They say taps off, like take your top off because it's so warm.
Yep.
So for us, it was taps off.
Okay.
We didn't actually get undressed, but you know, the expression was there.
Yeah.
And then, within an hour of getting the keys to the house from the estate agent, the doorbell rang. And we're like, who could that be? And this lovely little man called Olivier, he said, hello. The post person said that there was some mail for what looks like Scottish people. You know, the name Usher and Douglas.
Yeah.
They must be Scottish. And then he said, yeah, we've just moved in. And he went, oh, I'm Olivier. I speak some English because I used to live in Scotland with my dad.
Oh,
I'll help you.
That is something special too, because they do not speak that well.
Hardly anybody
English.
speaks English down here. Yeah.
Okay.
So this lovely man came to our door from a village of a population of about 400. And said, I can help you. I can help you get your power put on. You know, the post office know who you are already.
And was it a kind of neighbor or something?
Yeah, he was just a neighbor. He lived a few doors down.
Okay,
And because of the community being so tight, you know. So
I've got the same experiences.
Yeah,
so they sometimes say about the French, they're a little bit, how you call it, introvert or on themselves.
Oh,
but I noticed over the years that they are very polite, very friendly, also for foreigners like us, or people from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to hear. But
you're right about that, Ron. The politeness, the politesse is fantastic. You know, if I walk down the street in Edinburgh and I walk towards a group of 16-year-old boys, I have to do a wide berth to get around them. You know, and then maybe you get some eye contact and you don't want that.
Yeah.
Whereas here, they get out your way. They want to play with your dog. You know, can I play with your dog? He's gorgeous.
Yep.
You know, and then they say bonjour, have a nice day, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, that is something special too, because I have neighbors. I think they live 200 meters further on.
Yeah.
And they have 2 kids. And they always are so polite, saying hello, sir. Of course, in French, but it's so different comparing it with Holland, where I'm coming from.
Yeah, because you're from The Hague, aren't you? So
I'm from The Hague.
You've got a city life, yeah. It's the same with us. We were in the countryside, but we lived in Edinburgh mainly. But yeah, just that politesse. You walk into the pharmacy, and everybody stops and says good morning. And then you're like, oh, I'm part of a community. Everyone, you know, they don't all know me, but it's just you just feel secure and safe and welcome. It's just lovely.
Yeah, but please continue with your startup. Like you said, you met your neighbor Olivier.
Yeah, so we met this neighbor, Olivier, and so he helped us, and he became a good friend. And then we met a lovely woman called Franny, an American, a painter in the town. And then within minutes, we met the mayor, and she was lovely also. So there was just this, it's like a welcoming committee. But then there's this lovely thing that happens every year called Fête des Voisins. It's the festival of the neighbor.
Okay.
You know, I think a Parisian chap came up with the idea because people were being found dead or lonely in apartments. So he came up with this idea of at least once a year, all the neighbors must get together, celebrate that you're all friends, make sure everyone's okay.
I have to tell it to our mayor.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing in my experiences with France, they like to celebrate things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think because they don't need to work that day then. There's so many many celebrations.
Any excuse for a holiday.
Every excuse is a good thing, of course. But,
and if there's a bank holiday, they'll do what they call the bridge, and they'll take Friday off as well. So they've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
Indeed, they love that.
Indeed.
So yeah.
But your startup, okay, it was hard in the beginning, but you got a lot of help.
We got a lot of help. And, it was lovely.
I think it was a stay at a rented home.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was not the definite
No,
location.
it wasn't. No, the good thing was, now we moved in there and we made loads of friends quite quickly.
Yeah.
People who lived rurally, up on a hill, out in gorgeous, lovely houses with pools and stuff. And we were
Yeah.
devising this idea for Studio Faire,
Yeah.
the artist retreat
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
place. And then we were looking at some properties
Mm-hmm.
and realized that we didn't want to be rural, because
Okay.
that meant when our guests came, I would be driving them everywhere all the time,
Yeah.
because artists and writers and musicians, they do want to lock themselves away on these retreats and crack on with the projects.
Yeah.
But at the same time, being able to walk into town for a croissant
Yeah.
or to the
Of course.
bar or
Of
have a
course.
cup of coffee with some of the locals, or
Yeah.
well, in Nerac, you wake up any given day and there's a circus in town, or there's a party in the street happening, or there's Julia and I both say it's like fet for fet's sake,
Yeah.
there's always something going on, even in the winter months. Yeah, so we started looking at properties in towns because of this,
Yeah. I
realizing
can
that
imagine.
rural wouldn't work for our little business idea. And then back to Caroline, the lovely Caroline. She, we only looked at 6 properties. I think it was about 6 properties, but there was one that she'd found, and it was in Nerac, but it was a little mansion house. Jules and I are first-time buyers at the
Okay.
age of mid 40s, and we went to see it, and we fell in love with this place. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it's a gorgeous building, built in 1832. It used to be there on its own. It was a small estate.
Yeah.
Then
And how big the terrain?
the terrain. Well, back then the
Yeah.
terrain would have been like 100 acres, 100 hectares
So
probably.
yeah, really.
Yeah, but then over the years they built the new road. Houseman
Okay.
built the new road to Ajan. Then the streets all started building up and the town expanded. But it's crazy thinking back to 1832, the horses and carts and the dresses and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, she showed us this house, and we walked around it. We walked around the 6 bedrooms, the outbuildings. There's a massive grange, a big barn,
Yeah.
and there was another acre of land out the back. So we just said to Caroline, thanks so much for showing this beautiful property, but oh my goodness, it's way out of our range. I had an income level and Jules had an income level, and we thought that we could get a certain type of mortgage.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going to happen yet, but so Caroline said, look, just let it sink in. Let it sink in to your, into your wee heads, and dream about this place. So we left it for a few months.
Yeah, but so you did not got a price of the house
Well,
at that moment,
we
or
knew the
really?
price. We knew the
Oh, you
price.
knew the
And
price.
it was probably something like 150,000 euros more than we thought we could get a
Okay.
mortgage for,
Yeah.
afford.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we just, we scratched it off the list because it was just, too far away from our reach.
Yeah.
But then a few months later, Caroline said, we should go back and have a wee look. Let's just talk to the universe and wander in and have another look at the place, because nobody's looking at it. Nobody wants it,
Yeah.
because it's
Okay.
such a big thing. So we went back, and Caroline had said, look, listen, I have an idea. We could talk to the owner and tell them that they could go ahead and use the 1 acre of land to potentially build 3 plots and have these houses. And then you could probably knock 100,000 euros from the price, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
So we went, oh, that sounds good. That would bring the price down to something we think we could manage, maybe with the banks. So she phoned up the owner there and then, and they agreed to it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that
So
is
there was a
good.
bit more haggling, little bit more haggling, and a bit more money was taken off, and then we agreed on an offer that day
Yeah.
with the owner.
Okay.
So then it was like, oh my goodness, we need to go and speak to the banks now.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
it is nice, of course, in your circumstances that you're already living over there.
yeah,
And so when you had to move to the new location,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
not a too
It
big
wasn't too
effort
bad,
to.
and we'd made some lovely friends,
Yeah.
and we knew the system by then.
Yeah.
We had French bank accounts. An important thing we did actually, and I always tell people that move here, especially from the UK, when we left the UK, we signed off from the tax office. We said we
Okay.
won't pay tax here anymore. we'll pay our tax in France.
Yeah.
And there's the double treaty rule where you don't end up paying tax twice anyway, so that you're protected. But coming here and setting up a small business, like I set up as a freelance photographer and designer, and Julie as a freelance designer, we got our Sirit numbers, we got in the system, we got our carte vitale for the health, found a doctor, found a dentist, got ourselves into the system quite quickly.
Okay, and then that sounds good.
Yeah, but there's something you have to do, because when it came to us trying to get a mortgage, we went to 4 banks in Nerac, okay, and each one basically laughed us out the door. It's like, you've only been here 6 months. Why would we give you a mortgage? And also, you're freelancers, so there's no guarantee of income. You're on this wave of paychecks coming in some months and other months nothing. So I'll mention Caroline one more time. She said, look, there's a broker that I know of up in Bergerac, and they get people like you mortgages. So we got an appointment, met this lovely woman, and she heard our story. And she said, look, you're peculiar, really peculiar, but I know one bank that'll give you a mortgage.
Okay.
And it turned out it was the bank next door to the to the office. And within a few weeks, well, maybe it took about 6 weeks, a bit longer than we thought, we got the okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it, but we got the okay. So we marched up, signed the papers, couldn't believe it. And then
you could really start.
Oh, that was it. We could start our business, fixing up this old.
Yeah, you're a handy person, I've heard.
And I'm not really a DIY person. But
but in what kind of period did you manage your idea of your business?
So we were in the rental house for exactly 1 year.
Yeah.
Then we got the keys the following April. For the new house. And then we thought we would spend maybe 18 months renovating the place before we opened the doors to guests. But then we realized that we could do it quicker than that. Because the part of the building, there's a bathroom, and there was 3 bedrooms. And we just did a lot of cosmetics, stripping off old paper, cleaning things up, getting it good enough. And then we opened the doors in 2018. So we only had 1 year of preparing, and then
2018, and it's now 24.
Yeah.
So
we've been open
for 6 years, and you're doing well. Is your
going
dream? Your dream came true.
It's fantastic. We're welcoming 40 people per year.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a mixture of artists, musicians, writers. From Australia, America, Canada, Iceland.
Not
Finland.
only from Scotland, but also
hardly any from Scotland. We've had a handful.
Yeah.
But we've been very surprised. I mean, COVID came, and then people started to travel more once COVID was away. So the attention's come from Australia and America and Canada. It's fantastic. So we got lucky. I think we landed at the right place at the right time, and all the
And do you have a website of kind of thing?
Yeah, the website Studio Faire.
Maybe you can tell us.
Studio Faire.
People. Yeah. Please repeat, because I was talking.
It's Studio Faire, Studio Faire. Sorry, Faire, faire, to do in French, to make. So studiofaire.fr.
Okay.
And if you look for writer residency France, we come up in the top 3 or 4 anyway. So.
Okay. Yeah. And do you something extra, like meals or?
Well, not generally. I mean, it's self-catering, self-focused residencies. But we do have a welcome meal. We usually do, obviously, duck and chips. Everyone loves that. And then, depending on the group, we end up having meals quite regularly with the people that are in. And what's lovely are the creatives that come to stay with us for either 2 weeks or 4 weeks. You might have like a 26-year-old writer from America and a 64-year-old poet from Australia.
At the same time.
Yeah.
That's happening because you
people,
have
4 people at once.
4 people.
And then they become a little team.
Yeah.
And then with us, we become a team, and we socialize, and we've got a glorious back garden with a nice big table and the umbrellas and stuff. There's a great community sort of feeling to the place.
Yeah, and doing some do they show their production maybe, or
Yes, yeah,
they practice at your?
yeah. At the
But
end,
later on, yeah.
towards the end of the residency, we offer the chance for them to showcase what they've been doing. Generally, they do. So we end up having a little kind of last night dinner, and
that must be great.
the musicians will play what they've been writing, and the writers will give us extracts, and yeah, it's lovely.
Okay.
Sometimes writers will actually burn their manuscripts in the back garden because they're finished, they're done. It's
Okay.
It's a celebration, right? I'm going to go to my publisher, and the book's going to come out next year, and it all happened in Nerac.
Yeah. Hey,
Nice.
Colin, thanks. I think this episode is finished, but I have the feeling that we could talk for hours and hours again. But
I've not
I have a
many
good
questions.
yeah. I've got a good feeling, and I think the listeners too, about your business, your life over here.
Oh, thanks so
So
much.
thank you very much for this episode.
It's been a pleasure.
And do you want to say anything special? What we must know about you that we did not talk about yet?
Oh, don't worry about that. If you go to the website, you can see about myself and Julia.
Yeah.
What we get up to and all the guests and stuff.
Yeah, I will surely do that.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you again, Colin.
Cheers. Thanks so
Okay,
much.
have a nice day.